Hello, sisters. Hello, sisters. This is Monica Wisdom of the Monica Wisdom Podcast. I almost said Black Women Amplified again. Welcome to the Soft Life as a Life Code 8-part audio series. And this is a space where we come to tell the kind of truth that sets us free. So we're going to have a talk and a conversation I feel like is long overdue. We're going to talk about a term that is used to describe how many of us feel in professional and personal spaces. And this term I no longer use, and I'm going to tell you why. The term is imposter syndrome. But I want you to know right here and right now, this term never belonged to us. I used to believe in it. I used the language to describe myself or what I was feeling because it felt familiar. But like I explained, it's not ours. So I did my research, and the phrase imposter phenomenon was coined first in 1978 by two psychologists, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. And they did a study focused on high-achieving white women who felt like intellectual frauds despite their success. We weren't even considered in the study. So nothing about our life, our circumstances, our environments, nothing was included in this study. And then somebody put it in a blog post or a podcast or somewhere, and people started using the term imposter syndrome. But that is their experience. It's not ours. What Black women navigate in this world is not a syndrome of self-doubt. It is a response to living in systems that were not built to support who we are, our excellence, our drive, our lives. When you are constantly questioned, erased, overlooked, and asked to shrink in order to belong, that is not imposterism. That is survival. That is endurance. That has nothing to do with your capability. So many of us learn to enter these spaces with every credential, every degree, and every ounce of our brilliance so that we could just get in the door. But we were still met and still are met with doubt. We overprepare, we overperform, we overcompensate, not because we don't believe in ourselves, but because we've learned that our excellence still isn't enough to protect us from these biases. We're not imagining this, sis. It's not insecurity. It's the wear and tear of navigating white-dominated systems that constantly ask us to prove what we already know. And if you watched The View a couple of weeks ago when Whoopi was trying to have a conversation about race in America, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. No matter how much we know, our lived experience, you could be an EGOT, you could be in 50 movies, you could be at the top of your game in every form of entertainment and still be questioned by people who haven't done a fifth of what you have accomplished. That's what I'm talking about here. That's not imposter syndrome. That is what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. We've been told that if you know the game, you can play it. But the truth is, we've been playing this game for decades, and the rules keep shifting. We know the game, but I don't know about you, but I'm tired of playing it. I'm tired of playing it. Here's what I know to be true, and this is why I name it for what it is: systemic racism syndrome. I'm going to say that again. Systemic racism syndrome. That is a term I made up. I put it on my podcast a couple of years ago, and I'm bringing it back up now because it is about who we are and what we have to deal with in this nation and in some places around the world. This isn't about an internal doubt. This is about external forces that make us question our belonging in spaces that we help build. This is the weight of having to do more to be considered enough. It's the reality of being the only one in the room and carrying that pressure of representing an entire race while trying not to be erased, right? Systemic racism syndrome is a result of generations of forced resilience. It happens when you are told 1,000 different ways that your presence is conditional, that your value must be justified, and that your truth must be softened to make others feel comfortable. That's not a system that lives in self-esteem. It lives in structures around you. But it takes root inside of us when we're given a language that does not belong to us, when we're given a life that does not belong to us, and when we're not given the tools to name or release it, we adopt other names that sound similar but not quite there. For example, imposter syndrome. Living under these conditions costs us more than we talk about. It chips away at our self-esteem. It tears down and wears down our nervous system. And this is how it shows up. It shows up as fatigue. It shows up as anxiety, burnout, and sometimes even depression. It teaches us to smile when we want to scream. It silences our true peace. And it tells us to work harder even when our bodies are begging for rest, to push through, to keep going. And the saddest part of this is that so many of us believe that this is just what it means to be strong. But I'm here to tell you, strength is not supposed to hurt. Our survival should not be romanticized. That title of superwoman or strong black woman, that's a romantic version of a deep feeling a deep burden and a deep feeling that we have, that we're responsible for carrying so much. But here's the reality. It is time to reframe that inner narrative so that we can feel free. What we talk about in this podcast is the experiences that I've had and conversations I've had with many women and observing society. Because I'm a seer, so I see all the things. And what we think is self-doubt often is the echoes of someone else's voice. Someone who tried to define us before we knew our own power. And the truth of us, many of us are carrying those stories and we don't even know it. And they were never ours to begin with. It could be from generational trauma, right? It could be from societal trauma. It could be from constantly feeding yourself this crazy music and these television shows. So you're taking on other people's trauma because, as you know, we are very compassionate and very empathetic people and empathic people. And so when we are in a sea of a world that is not joy, peace, and love, we take all that on too. And these stories that are not ours are the stories that say we have to prove our worth, the stories that says we don't belong unless we're invited, the stories that says softness is weakness and we have to be strong. And success comes through struggle. Well, let's talk about it. Those stories are lies. And it's time to release them. When you begin to reframe the way that you speak to yourself, you change everything. You don't need to wait for anyone to validate you. Your presence in the room is validation. Your reflection in the mirror is validation. That next breath that you take is validation. Your brilliance, your leadership, your joy, that is the proof. So it is time to reclaim our narrative. You don't have to subscribe to that narrative that was never written for you, and you were not in mind when these two psychologists wrote that paper. You don't have to shrink, twist, bend, or camouflage your light to belong. You are not here by accident. You're a living legacy of those who came before you. and you are the blueprint for those that come after. Yeah, I said it. And this is your life code for today. This is what I want you to say to yourself. Write it down and own it. I am not an imposter. I am evidence of what's possible. Say that with your full chest. Whisper it if you're in a place where you can't shout. Write it down, make it a prayer, make it a promise. This is not being delusional. This is truth. You are not an imposter. You are evidence of what's possible. I want you to reflect on this. Take a moment and breathe. Put your hand on your heart and ask yourself, when did I first question if I was enough? What systems taught me that my brilliance was too much? And what would shift if I released those stories and reclaimed my own? Because here's the thing, sis, you're not broken. These are patterns and habits that we have adopted from other people. But patterns can be rewritten. And that's what healing does. It makes space for new truth to emerge. So before we leave or end this episode, I want to remind you that if this episode stirred something in you, I want to invite you to continue this journey and start the Reframe Your Narrative workshop. It's an audio workshop that I created that goes deep into our stories and helps us to examine our stories, get to the core of where our anxiety or our belief in ourselves began, and then reframe those stories so that we can begin to unpack everything that you're carrying. Because I keep saying, people say, well, do this and do that. I call it unraveling. Some people call it unpacking. But we have to unravel those tightly wound belief systems within us so that we can free ourselves and truly live liberated and see our own soul glow, honey. Because like we talked about in the previous episode, there's that little girl sitting inside of us that is ready to come out and grow and play and imagine and dream bigger. But here's the other thing you want to do is you want to explore the Soft Life Blueprint Journal. This is a tool that helps you return to yourself, to rediscover your passions and your purpose. And it's a wonderful workbook journal where I'm going through and I'm asking you questions so that you can respond what is true to you. It's not about me telling you what you need to know. It's about you discovering. Self-discovery has been the most powerful tool for me as opposed to somebody else telling me what I need. There's plenty of people in the world telling Black women what they need to do and how they need to act and how they need to be. It's up to us to discover what we need for ourselves individually, outside of the community, outside of our job, outside of the many roles and obligations that we have. Who am I? That's the question. That is the question. We've spent so much time emulating and adopting other people's programs, other people's ideas of success, other people's ideas of what is proper or dignified. Now it's time for us to ask that for ourselves. And here's the thing, you don't have anything to prove. You are the proof. You are the proof and the possibility. You're not an imposter. What you are is the answer to our ancestors' prayers. You get to live the life that they dreamed of. And the one thing that they wanted, which they wanted for you, is true freedom. And now that we have carried this entire community and built places that we could never have imagined, that our ancestors could have never imagined, now it's time for us to imagine a new world for ourselves individually and bring forth and project our truth into the world. But first you have to unravel it, release it, forgive it, honor it, and then let that shit go. So I'm excited that you're here in this series and thank you for listening. And I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think about systemic racism syndrome, what you think about the idea of it, has it shifted your perspective from imposter syndrome? Do you still feel imposter syndrome is real? Is it a thing for you? Or have I made you think about this in a whole different way? I hope so. I hope so. But I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just here to give you information and allow you to acclimate it in any way that you choose, or just say, she sounds crazy, and let it go. But I think the more that you think about it, the more you understand that imposter syndrome was not a story written about us. So, the world is better because of you. The world breathes better because of you. You are worthy. You are seen. And at the Monica Wisdom Podcast, you are home. So I would like to say thank you for listening. Thank you for coming to the end of chapter 3. Of course, everything that I talked about and all of my research will be in the show notes for this episode. And where you find the show notes is wherever you listen to your podcast. So the Reframe Your Narrative audio class will be there. The Soft Life Blueprint will be there. As well as a link to the Soft Mornings audio will be there. And any books that I read, whatever books I researched, so that you can do your own research and you can read it for yourself. I'm also going to put links to those books there as well. So you are fully informed. I want you to research for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'm giving you my perspective, my information, and I want you to draw your own conclusions for yourself. But this is the way that I see it. And let me know if you see it that way too. Let's start that conversation. Anyway, have an amazing evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're listening. And I hope that you understand that this is a gift from my heart to yours. And know that I do see you. And I'm sending you love, peace, and light. Thank you for listening to the Monica Wisdom Podcast. Have an amazing day wherever you are in the world.